got the transfer portal. Everybody knows about what the transfer portal is, right? A player goes into the portal, and really the only thing that the portal does is allow other schools to communicate with that player. So a player goes into the portal and other schools could communicate with them. But a player is a student athlete and can transfer whenever they want, really, right?
Yeah.
So a blind or a ghost transfer is a player who transfers outside of the portal window. And we don't see that a lot because, number one, you're not supposed to communicate with a player to transfer outside of the portal window. So the thought is if a player does transfer outside of the window, then they have illegally communicated with another school, right?
Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Meldon Law Studios at the Hacienda. Okay, and welcome into another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios at the Dooley Dome. We appreciate everybody for coming and listening or watching, whatever you do. We've got a lot going on. We'll get to what we have going on in a minute. I did want to tell you today, Ross Dellenger from Yahoo Sports is going to join us. Ross, but no, Ross is plugged into all this stuff that's going on in college football outside of, I mean, he's plugged in with what's going on the field, but also what's going on off the field where there's all kinds of litigation and everything. I want to get some answers from him, and he's the guy to give them to us. Coach Spurrier on Monday. You know what Monday is? Coach Spurrier. We're going to have to sing happy birthday, I think, on Monday. And then on next Thursday, our friend Matt Hayes is going to join us. 1010XL and USA Today. Stays busy. He's like me, stays busy. But he's not retired. Of course, neither am I, really. So that's our schedule coming up. The following week, I think Peter Burns is going to be on, and we're still efforting to get Jesse Palmer. I think that's going to happen sometime in May. So that'll be fun as well. All right, it is time for us to get to our Money Metals starting five. MoneyMetals.com is your home for gold and silver purchases, one of the largest distributors in all the United States. 2 Gator grads are running it, and you can reach them at 1-800-800-1865 or at MoneyMetals.com. Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to Mike Gleason, who is a part owner of Money Metals, and a good dude, but we talk all the time. And he asked me about what was going on with the players coming back on Florida basketball. And so rather than just text him, I called him and gave him a call and just said, hey, man, here's what's going on. I'll tell you, and I'll tell you in just a minute. But so, he's a good guy, and appreciate him for doing all the stuff he does and being a sponsor here. And, of course, he was telling me that they're trying to get licensing to have coins from different schools. So there would be a Gator coin or a round that you could get. So that'll be very cool as well. All right, let's start with the number one story. Really, right now in Gainesville, it is definitely what's going on with basketball because the news broke yesterday. Not surprising. I think it was surprising from the end of the season, but as time went on, we kept hearing, that Alex Condon was going to come back and play another year of basketball, which is great for Florida. He had moments when he wasn't great. He had a lot too many turnovers. There's no doubt taking those threes. I mean, he's trying to show he can make the threes, but he clearly can't. Maybe he can work on it this year and get better. I don't know. All I know is I'm very happy that he's coming back. One of my favorite players at Florida, and that's exciting. It really is exciting. Now, the question is about all the other stories that you've been hearing. Chinyalu, I think they're staggering the announcements. That's my gut feeling, but I'm just guessing on that. But Chinyalu, I think, is going to make an announcement and could, by the time you listen to this, that he's coming back. And then the question becomes Tommy Houck. It feels like it's a good chance, but it also feels like you can understand why he wouldn't. So I'm just going to wait and see. Whatever he chooses would be the answer. I know a lot of people are talking about the kid from Iowa State, Milan Milicevic, whatever his name is. It's too hard to pronounce for me. I'll learn to pronounce it if he comes to Florida. But I do want to say this: people keep inserting him into the starting lineup. I was told by a pretty good source yesterday they have had no contact with him. It doesn't mean he's not going to come here. It doesn't mean he's not going to go to the draft, which he's in the draft and the portal at the same time, which you can do now. He's going to go work out with the NBA guys, kind of like Condon did last year. And who else did? Boogie Flan, I think, did. Anyway, so we'll see what happens here going forward. But look, I don't think Hanlockton gets in the portal if he doesn't know or suspect that both Chinyalu and Condon are going to be back. So Florida needs to find another big. They like to play with four bigs. That have two on the court at all times, unless you're in a situation where you need guards on the floor. And we'll see what happens. It's still, we don't know, but I just wanted to make sure that's what I know. And that's all I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to do too much guessing because that's kind of silly. But so Condon's back. We'll find out about Chinyalu, find out about Hauk, and there'll be another player coming in. And also, I've been told too that the kids, they're bringing in, I think, two players and that they recruited that are really going to be difference makers. I know something, but I don't know everything, and we'll see how that all goes. And I may kind of lean into that next week. But by then, we should have a more set roster. I don't think there's much question about that. All right. So let's get to number 2 on our Money Medals. Starting 5, brought to you by our friends at Money Medals, and that is baseball and the roller coaster that we are on. And you get all the way to the top and you go, I'm scared. And then you go down, wee, and you pee in your pants a little bit and you throw up, and that's the end of the ride. That's kind of Gator baseball. You pee in your pants and you throw up sometimes. And this is a program that is, done really well as a rule in the midweek games, but not so much this year. Although I will say High Point was not midweek, and neither was UAB. But here is the thing. This is a team that has lost to UAB, lost twice to High Point, lost to JU, and lost to Bethune-Cookman, which they did on Tuesday night. They've also swept FSU, swept Miami, swept Arkansas, took 2 out of 3 from Georgia, all ranked teams. Miami's not ranked anymore, but and I watched them lose last night to USF. But anyway, it's just a roller coaster, and the highs are high and the lows are low. I'm just worried they're going to play themselves out of hosting, but especially to get that super regional host. But hey, getting the tournament first is your goal. And next up, not going to be any easier than playing Auburn, which is ranked number 6 in the country. Florida's ranked number 7, although that Bethune loss would knock them down. But if they take 2 out of 3 at Auburn, it won't knock them down. So, look, Auburn's got great pitching. Florida's got great pitching. With the jobs that Liam Peterson and Aiden King did last week were one reason that they had they could extend their bullpen and everything. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But look, if you ask me what I think Florida's going to do, no clue this weekend. They might win all 3. They might lose all 3. It's just a bizarre situation. I can't explain it. And I know Sully's had come to Jesus meetings with these guys and tried to get them fired up, and they're doing more in the dugout and they're a little more energetic, but there's just something. And I've told people this for years. When you're playing against the Gators, you're playing against Faedo and Wilkerson and Caglione and Wyatt Langford. That's the brand. That is what Florida is. So it becomes the Super Bowl for a team like JU, a team like Bethune, certainly. Bethune's got a good team, actually. Anyway, we'll see what happens this week and the TV for those games in a little bit when we do our swamp games of the weekend. But right now, it is time for us to move along, and that is number 3 on our moneymedals.com starting 5, and that is softball, the other ball sport that actually is good. We know what we're getting from them, but even last night I was nervous because next thing I know, Florida's given up the most runs they've ever given up to Florida Gulf Coast in the history of the program. But they had to bring Rothrock in, save it at the end, and Florida ends up winning the game 9-6. Now 40 is, which is pretty good. Next up is Auburn again. So it's so funny because that just happened 2 weeks ago, right? When Florida, or maybe 3, Florida went to Arkansas with softball and baseball. They were playing across the street from each other. They're going to be playing across the street from each other again, and they'll both be Auburn. This Auburn is not the same as the Auburn in baseball. This Auburn is 2-13 in the league. And you know me, I don't believe in calling for sweeps. I don't believe in that. I say, hey, just go win the series. That's all you got to do. I don't care if you lose the first game, win the next 2. But you got to just win the series. Now, they're 2-13 in the league. You would think it would be potential of a sweep, but I never call for sweeps. I learned that a long time ago. I thought it was really interesting that Tim Walton, after the game, said, look, we have to have a second pitcher step up. And it hasn't happened. They got shelled last night. He's tried Oxley. He's tried, obviously, I don't know when Ava Brown's going to be able to pitch a lot of innings. She's back in the lineup, but we'll see on that. Leah Stevens has not been effective. They just, who's the other one? Olivia Millard did do a good job at the end of the game last week, but anyway, the bottom line is they've got one really good pitcher. I don't even consider Keegan Rothrock to be like elite the way Lauren Hager, Kelly Barnhill, Stacy Nelson, that kind of elite. But I mean, the game's changed. Softball game has changed drastically. And the teams are scoring lots of runs now, hitting a lot of homers. Florida did it last night. But he is absolutely right. First of all, you can't win in Omaha or Oklahoma City. I always do that. You cannot win in Oklahoma City without an elite pitcher. I'm not sure Florida has one, but maybe Keegan Rothrock steps it up on that stage. You've got to have one. And you can usually pitch one a lot because you get days off and everything. But you need a second one at least. And you need other people, but they've got a pitching staff, and it's just not has not executed sometimes. And we'll see what goes on. But don't forget, they're 41-5 with 3 games coming up that they should be able to handle. I'm not asking for a sweep. I'm just saying they should be able to handle. Anyway, I could talk softball all day. I know a lot of you aren't big softball fans, but I am. I love watching. I watched the whole game last night, and it's a lot of fun. All right, let's get to number 4 on our moneymedals.com starting 5. And that is a lot of stories have been coming out lately. And I'm looking forward to having Matt on next week because he's written a lot of them, but for USA Today. But, Billy Napier, DJ Lagway, all them telling, well, it wasn't really our fault. Somebody else's fault. Napier saying in the story that the culture wasn't right at Florida, and he struggled to get it right, and all this stuff. And my first reaction when I saw that was, you set the culture, right? I mean, if the culture wasn't right, it's your fault. That's the A part. The B part is they gave you everything you wanted, every coach you wanted, every dollar you spend. They gave you a ton. They gave you so much it was embarrassing sometimes. And we, even as who covered the Gator and all that, alumni kind of sat back and go, really? You need that many people? You need to hire people to break down third downs? I mean, it can't be that hard a job. I got to be honest with you. But here's the bottom line. And this is why I wanted to bring this up, because look, we've talked about John Summerall's been great. He's saying all the right things. He wants to wake the beast up. He's saying He is getting everybody fired up. It's probably not going to be a great season this year. I've said this before. I think 7-5 would be fine, but obviously, probably you don't. But you look at the schedule, you look at games they could lose. It is what it is. And he's got a lack of depth, and doesn't have a great offensive line, and we don't know what the quarterback's going to look like. We don't know which one it's going to be. We think it's Philo, but Tramel Jones will probably play definitely some games. We'll see what it looks like. I'm not overly optimistic. I'm optimistic in John Summerall. I'm not optimistic in the 2026 team. But that's only if you are thinking, I think we can sneak into the playoffs this year. I don't see that happening. I could have seen it happening last year. And we were probably wrong about the roster. We thought this was a great roster last year. It wasn't a great roster. If it was a great roster, they wouldn't have gone 4-8. I don't care when your coach got fired. Hell, you should have lost to Mississippi State. That was a bad year. You should have been 3-9. But it is what it is. And I just everybody is going to pick on Florida on a lot of these things, and they're going to look at and if Napier goes and wins at where is he? Oh, James Madison, which he should be able to. Everybody's just say, yeah, see, he's a good coach. He's not the problem. Florida was the problem. Now, and again, I'm kind of babbling a little bit because things pop into my head, but I just want to make this point that Florida is a demanding school. They expect championships. They have had two of the great coaches of all time at Florida, and Spurrier and Meyer. They, even with Mullen, New Year's Six bowls weren't enough. They were like, okay, that'll be fun. We'll go and we'll cheer and everything. But with McElwain winning the East wasn't enough. But I don't think it's the Florida problem. I really don't. I think it's college football's problem and this is the way it is now. We're going to spend a lot of money on portal stuff. Better win. If you don't win, and this is the way it is for everybody. This is the way it was for Kelly Ray Finley, who, by the way, landed a job at Virginia. And congrats to her. I like Kelly Ray. Kelly Ray couldn't win, though, and that's why she's gone. There's a lot of people like that just, if you don't win, you're not going to be around. It's all about winning. That's the way it is. And our culture now is it's about winning at everything you do. And Florida, I don't think is a problem. I look at that stadium behind me. It's not really behind me, but it's a picture of the stadium behind me that is going to be made even better. I look at the crowds, 18 straight sellouts. I look at everything that Florida fans do to support their team. Yeah, people call into radio shows and are mad, and they call in dial a score and all that stuff, and they get mad. Okay, but it's still the lunatic fringe. I don't worry about that. It's not a Florida problem. They just haven't been able to get it right. And maybe this time they did, but we don't know. We don't know. Anyway, that is the other thing. I think we all just need to forget about Billy Napier. Okay, I don't want to sit around. Maybe I'm the most guilty of anybody when I'm making jokes about 11 men on the field, stuff like that. Okay, let's just forget about it. Let's just see what this coach is going to do. Napier, old news, doesn't matter. We'll see what happens. That's my philosophy, and yet I will not live by it, as you know. Okay, let's wrap it up with number 5 on our Money Metal starting 5. And I'm going to do some self-plugging here. Sorry. I did my first edition of the Main Street Daily News with my column in it. The Front Nine is out, and we had a meeting today, and we're trying to bundle. We're giving you a bundle opportunity for people who want to advertise. And you get print ad, you get mentions on my Patreon stuff where I'm doing the back 9 and plus the 5 things and all that stuff that I'm doing. I'm just having a blast. I can tell you that. I am enjoying writing more than I've ever written. Not ever written, but since I've written in a long time since I left the paper. I'm enjoying seeing my work. It means a lot to me. I'm just glad I can do it. And they came to me and I said, that's something I there anyway. You know how to get a hold of me. You can call Main Street News and get a hold of people there and talk to them. I was over at their building the other day. It's really pretty cool what's going on over there, and I'm happy to be part of it. I'm happy to be part of Gainesville's #1 paper. So we'll see what's going forward. All right, that's going to do it for our Money Metals .com starting five. Let us move along and take a break, and then we'll come back. Ross Dellenger from Yahoo Sports will join us. We'll find out what's going on in college football. Maybe he can tell us. I hope so. All I know is I don't know. All right. This is another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging and coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Give me 60 seconds and I'll show you why you should be buying silver and how to get started. Recent price spikes in groceries, healthcare, gasoline, steel, and lumber tell the story of inflation, as do raging bull markets in equities and housing. As the reality of all this inflation sinks in, investors will be acting quickly to diversify and protect themselves, their families, and their assets. That's why we're offering our Silver Starter Kit to help you get started in holding tangible wealth. This mix of our most recommended forms of silver includes 9 silver coins, totaling 4 troy ounces of fine silver. These pure silver coins have a low bid-ask spread, the difference between the price you pay to buy and the price you receive to sell. Low transaction costs are one reason Investopedia calls Money Metals the best dealer in America. Don't waste any more time. Start protecting your savings today with physical precious metals at moneymetals.com/go.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, 2 things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
and our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great. Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. It's a great pleasure to bring on Ross Dellenger from Yahoo Sports, the guy that I have to go to find out what's going on in college football. And man, I didn't know that you would ever be writing a story about ghost transfers, but you had to do that today too.
Yeah, I didn't know that existed until
I didn't either.
earlier, somewhat recently. Of course, I used to call them blind transfers, but I think the NCAA didn't want to offend a certain segment of people who couldn't see, so they became ghost transfers.
And basically, explain what those are to people, because I think a lot of people don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, well, we got the transfer portal. Everybody knows about what the transfer portal is, right? A player goes into the portal, and really the only thing that the portal does is allow other schools to communicate with that player. So a player goes into the portal and other schools could communicate with them. But a player is a student athlete and can transfer whenever they want, really, right? Yeah. So a blind or a ghost transfer is a player who transfers outside of the portal window. And we don't see that a lot because, number one, you're not supposed to communicate with a player to transfer outside of the portal window. So the thought is, if a player does transfer outside of the window, then they have illegally communicated with another school, right? But we've seen a lot of players do this, and we saw probably about a year and a half ago was the biggest sort of example when Xavier Lucas transferred from Wisconsin to Miami outside of the portal window. He just unenrolled at Wisconsin and enrolled at Miami. And they did some things in the admission office probably to make him sort of eligible immediately for spring practice, and boom, there you are. So the NCAA passed a rule to prevent exactly that from happening this spring. After they eliminated the spring transfer portal, there was a thought that transfers will happen anyway through this mechanism of ghost transfer, and the NCAA, and really, I have to remind people all the time about this, the NCAA is the schools, right? So the schools created on a committee, created a rule that if you are to take a ghost transfer or any transfer outside of the portal window, your coach will be suspended half the season and you'll be docked a significant financial penalty.
Yeah, I mean, half the season that's the kind of penalty I want to see. If this is something you don't want to happen, penalize them accordingly. It just goes back to I'm a big proponent of not rushing the field, because I've been on the field when it was rushed and things almost hit me. So, but they penalize them by giving them a fine. Who cares? They don't care. Rush the field, have fun. And it's easy to stop. Anyway, that's a whole nother subject. Let's get to the 5 for 5, which is, it sounds like that legislature is going to go through where you have 5 years to play 5 seasons, but it's going to go right to court, isn't it?
Probably, like a lot of things right now. And this isn't the sort of the traditional 5 in 5 that was been talked about for a while. It has some components of that, but basically, the NCAA is putting an age in sort of age limit around eligibility. So an athlete has 5 years of eligibility from the time they turn 19, or when they graduate high school, whatever comes earliest starts their 5-year sort of clock. And you have 5 years to, yes, play potentially as many as 5 seasons in those 5 years. And it eliminates red shirts, even medical red shirts. It eliminates the waiver system completely. And the key here, because I think it has a lot of support, I would kind of be surprised if it doesn't pass. But there are some issues with implementation of it and phasing it in. One of those being you have current players who, kind of two different kind of players. You have players who have previously taken red shirts. For instance, and a good example is like a freshman this past year who took a red shirt. The question is, do they have 5 years from now, which would be a total of 6 years? And the answer is probably no, because they took a red shirt. So they would fall under the new policy if it's implemented. But the other group of players is probably the more interesting. You have players who have completed or are completing their 4th season of competition in 4 years. They haven't taken a red shirt. Those players, would they be grandfathered sort of in a way with this new system to get a fifth season, an extra season? And that's what we don't know. It seems likely it would avoid more legal challenges if the NCAA didn't give that group of athletes, which probably isn't a lot of athletes. It's in the hundreds, I'm sure. But there's not a lot of athletes out there who have never taken a single red shirt. Right? A lot of athletes have. But there are examples, especially in maybe a sport like basketball, where you don't have athletes don't take as many red shirts, and so you have players who have just completed last month their 4th season of eligibility in 4 years. So it's a big question: is do those athletes get a 5th season? And the problem is we might not know that for a few weeks because this legislation is just getting started, going into the beginning stages of being developed.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, Axel Luxembourg, man, there's some people say he's like 30 years old. They can't find his birth certificate, but I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get it where there's not a lot of 25 and 26 years old kids playing they're not kids anymore at that point. You're paying tax.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's not surprising that this legislation was sort of got real serious after the Trinidad Chambliss case when he won a 6 year of eligibility. That's sort of when really serious thought went into the age based 5 year legislation, because obviously Trinidad got a 6 year. He's going to be, I think, 25, when the season starts, and so that sort of triggered a lot of this.
Well, it's just because they're playing Florida. That's why they made him eligible. We know that. Yeah. Let's talk about college football, the sport, and that is the playoff. Now, this week, we've seen both Greg Byrne and my column, Scott Strickland, come out and say, we want to go, we want to expand, we want it to be bigger. We get rid of the SEC game. It was great, but it's run its course. I mean, where are you on all that?
Yeah, I think that you're starting to see, SEC administrators and coaches be more vocal about, like you said, expanding the playoff and getting rid of the championship game. I think when the SEC decided to go to a 9-game conference schedule in August, I think the idea was that it would come with expansion. And the Big Ten, though, obviously did not come along, and they want an expansion beyond 16, and the SEC, specifically the SEC commissioner and the presidents, I think, want more of a modest expansion to 16, and they've kind of been at a stalemate there. And I think it's frustrating for a lot of people in the SEC who, number one, thought that going to 9 games would mean expansion and more spots for them in the playoff. And number two, and then number two, the situation with the championship game is, and I've been writing about it for 3 years. I feel like it's not a matter of if, right? It's a matter of when these conference championship games go away. They will go away. You cannot continue to expand the playoff, even at 12 teams, and have value in the championship game. I mean, you're seeing coaches, even publicly and certainly privately, say that they don't want to play in the conference championship game anymore. Like, that's a problem. So I think they are on their last leg, and they will at some point go away. It'll have to happen simultaneously with some kind of expansion. And in order for that to happen, Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti have to agree to expand the playoff. And as we're talking here, in a few days, there's annual college football playoff meetings in Dallas, where format is expected to be a topic of discussion. I don't know that they've gotten any closer to the Big Ten coming around to more to the SEC 16, or to the SEC coming around more to the 24. If anything, it's probably still at kind of the stalemate that we've seen. But I do sense, Pat, that we're going to see more and more pressure put on the SEC and its commissioner to do 24. And I say that because other leagues are starting to come around to it, and starting to voice things, at least privately in meetings, coming around to the 24. And everybody's looking at a way to optimize revenue, increase revenue. Right now, 16 doesn't really do that. 24 probably will, maybe not as much as they think, but certainly will increase the CFP television deal.
Yeah, absolutely it will. I would think so. And that's the thing. It's all about revenue right now, especially like at a place like Florida, where they're going to put over $1 billion into the renovating the stadium. They need to generate money. The more money they can get, the better. Let's talk some football, because I know you wrote talked about on your podcast the quarterback battles at Florida and Alabama. Where are we with I know where we are with the Florida one, but I mean, I'm curious to get your opinion on what you think just from watching a spring game. I know we haven't seen much of these guys in serious action, but to me, it's probably going to be Philo, but they're both probably going to play.
Yeah, I would guess that we'll end up seeing, and I think, I don't know, at Florida and Alabama, especially Florida, it seems that we'll end up seeing the competition go into maybe the early parts of the season, right? I think more and more you might see coaches start to use those non-conference games as more of a preseason like you do in the NFL. And you saw Lane Kiffin did that, and John Harbaugh did that Jim Harbaugh the last couple of years at Michigan and at Ole Miss, of treating the preseason games as as more of, or non-conference games more of preseason games. So I would expect that maybe to happen, but shoot, Pat, you know more about the on the field stuff than I would lately. I've been bogged down in the boring stuff, but I don't know how much stake to put, obviously, in spring games and in spring practices and such like that, right? It's hard.
It is. I mean, it's crazy. Ross Dellenger from Yahoo Sports joining us on the Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line. It is time for us to play the game we love to play. Yes, no way, or maybe with Ross. It's brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteaks Street Dining, done the right way. And if you go in there and say you listen to this podcast, you get free French fries with your order. There we go, Ross. Free fries. Right. Although you're in pretty good shape, so I don't know if you're eating a lot of fries.
What surprise.
Okay, as a graduate, this is number one on yes, no way, or maybe. As a graduate of Mississippi State, you often find yourself defending Starkville.
Yes, a lot.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, look, I've never stayed in Starkville because you can never stay in Starkville. So I don't really.
Not a lot of hotel rooms. Yeah, that's right. Not a lot of. It's come a long way since I was in school. I think when I was in school, there were basically 2 or 3 bars. We had a lot of house parties. Now there's about 10 to 12 bars. So it's the Cotton District area has come a long way. It's a lot of fun. It can be a lot of fun. In fact, in a week from today that we're talking, I'm going back for Super Bulldog Weekend, which is sort of like the baseball homecoming for them, and I'm excited about that.
Cool. That's cool. All right, number 2 on yes, no, where, maybe with Ross Dellenger. Ross, Arch Manning will win the Heisman Trophy this year.
I'll go no, but I could see it happening. But I'll go no. I would take the field more than I would take probably any one player, right? But I could see it happening, and he showed some pretty big improvement late last season that makes me think that he could do it.
Yeah, I think they're going to be. Texas just seems to have so many good players that, we'll see how it goes, but you never know how a season's going to unfold. And last year, I thought they were really good too, and they came here and lost to crappy Florida. Yeah. I can say crappy Florida because they went 4-8. All right, and finally, yes, no way, or maybe with Ross, number 3, Florida will be ranked at some point this season.
Yes. I do think, even though that might mean like 24 or 25, it would still be ranked. I have a lot of faith in Mr. Summerall, but I don't think it's going to take long to get to the 7, 8, perhaps even 9 win level, and that'll get you ranked.
That goes back to what we were talking about earlier, which was that he said he wishes they had a spring portal this year. He's looked at his offensive line, and it needs to get better, and so but he can't do that this year. So no more ghosts.
For first year coaches, the no spring portal is a real detriment.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey Ross, always great talking to you, buddy. You know it all. You're my source for everything that's going on in the courtrooms.
Yeah, it's crazy. Congress and courts and all that fun stuff. So I get the fun stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Well, enjoy it up there in Wash, and we'll talk to you again soon, man. Appreciate you. We'll be back with more of another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after this break. All right, it may be a new year, but it doesn't mean you have to back off any of your goals as far as losing weight. I know I've been working even harder on it, and of course I get an assist from BMI TeleMed. They help us out with our New Year's resolutions, even if I've already broken 2 of them. Not the food ones, though. Weight loss is your goal. Get with BMI TeleMed. They use GLP-1 medications, and they are individualized, and that's the great thing. I've been through this, and Charlie, just talking to him, it was so great to make him understand, and he understood what I was doing. It's not about just losing weight. It is about keeping it off. You know that. We're all excited about the new year and we're going to lose weight, but when you lose it in the first month, then you got to keep going. BMI TeleMed is sensible. It's straightforward. It's affordable. No contracts or hidden costs. BMI TeleMed is donating $1 for every pound you lose to the Florida Victorious Foundation. So go Gators. Join the listeners on this podcast who've already lost over 600 pounds. Are you kidding me? I'm 60 of them right there. All right, contact BMI TeleMed today at 727-383-1677.
By now, you heard about the Florida Legends Experience in Gala, featuring Gator Heisman greats Tim Tebow, Danny Warfel, and Steve Spurrier, all in one place at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Imagine catching a pass or taking a handoff from a Heisman winner, all while supporting Isaiah 117 to help provide safe, loving homes for children in need. Then enjoy an unforgettable evening at the Gala, filled with great food and lasting memories. Don't miss this historic event. Find out how you and your business can get involved at FLLegends.com. That's FLLegends.com.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Appreciate all of you for being on. Appreciate Ross for coming on. And of course, it is time for us to do our fun stuff in the third segment. Let's get to our Hesser and Kipke. Three things. Hesser and Kipke, with over 50 years of combined legal experience in North and Central Florida, Hesser and Kipke is your place for bankruptcy, workers' compensation, and family law. Call or text Ken and Jennifer at 352-339-9920, Hesser and Kipke. Okay, well, I'm following this portal stuff really way too intensely. And I don't know, I think it's because I just want to know what's going on. And usually I just wait and try to figure it out at the end of the year or at the end of or beginning of the year, sorry. But I am, and every time somebody transfers and they go away from the SEC, I'm like, thumbs up. That's good. I don't want you in the SEC. Yeah, we may have to face you down the road, but anyway, Aiden Sherrill going from Alabama to Indiana, and then Alabama brought in a big guy that I'm not real aware of. But Aiden Sherrill's a good player. Indiana, that's a good get for them. But that's the thing about the portal. Every 5 seconds, somebody's getting in the portal or somebody's committing, and it's usually a kid from Tarleton State going to Wrightsboro State or something. And I'm like, God, I don't want to look at that. But the funny thing is, to me, is they're still jumping in. Like every day. Like today, I'm looking at my Twitter account, and it's like, yeah, this guy just got in the portal. This guy just got in the portal. This guy just got in the portal. Florida's getting close to having its roster set, because somebody was asking me about big games that Florida can play, especially I think it was actually Mike Gleason was asking me about that. Big tournaments, when you would go to Vegas and stuff like that. And I said, they're going to probably wait until they know what they have before they're going to make those schedules, although they probably are talking to them. I do like that college basketball doesn't do it. They do it year to year rather than, okay, we're going to, what the schedule is right now. What Florida's 27 schedule is right now. But anyway, that's the point is moot. As the late Jesse Jackson used to say on Saturday Night Live, if you never saw that. Anyway, so I'm just keeping track of it, watching it, finding things, just hoping guys don't come to the SEC. I want the SEC to be good, but I don't want that much to be good. I rooted against almost every SEC team in the tournament. Arkansas, Kentucky, no, LSU wasn't in there. Anyway, I rooted for Florida. We know that. I think I rooted for Tennessee, maybe. Anyway, I'm digressing. Let's move along to number 2 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. And that is that this week, Kirk Ferentz had some wins vacated, which is the weakest punishment you can give somebody. It may matter to him. I don't think it does. his quote was, "There's a difference between tampering and illegal contact, impermissible contact. Actually, impermissible contact and tampering are not the same thing." So what he's trying to say is, we bumped into guys, we talked to them. It was just, it wasn't a big deal. We didn't tamper. But anyway, they got vacated wins and got penalties, but nothing severe. Kirk Ferentz still plugging away. What kind of team's he going to have this year? Well, he'll win 8 games. We know that. That would be like, would you rather have had, let me ask this question to all Gator fans, and I want answers on this. The last, 2 decades now, since 2011. Yes, 2011. From 2011 to right now, you've had 4 coaches. Now you have a 5th. Would you rather have gone through that, where there were some highs? There was an 11-win season there, or the steadiness of Kirk Ferentz being pretty average, but above average, I would say. No, winning 8 games every, 9. I think they had one year where they went to the Rose Bowl. I don't know. I'm just curious. Would you rather have that steadiness and know you're not going to lose a bunch of games you shouldn't lose? Anyway. That just came up with that off the top of my head, and it's really not that good, but I'm still going to use it. All right, let's get to number 3 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, and that is LaMelo Ball. I was just watching an old Saturday Night Live, and there were remember when Kenan Thompson would do LaMelo, the Ball's dad, and it was so funny. Anyway, I'd forgotten all about him until then. LaMelo Ball he got fined $35,000 for a dangerous hit on Bam Adebayo, and it happened in the playoffs. And then another $25,000 for profanity during a press conference. I thought you could cuss on TV because I see it all the time. I saw it from Gino Auriemma. I see it from Pat McAfee. I see it from Nick Saban. People cuss all the time on TV. So now I don't know how bad it was, and I don't know that I want to go listen to it. Anyway, it's a $60,000 fine. So he's making enough. But still, it's significant. $60,000. Yeah. All right. That's our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Let's move to our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week. And our Sponge of the Week this week from Gallo Car Wash, our friends who make sure our cars are all clean here at the Dooley house, is a guy named Paul Hasney. Okay. I think I got that pronunciation right. Paul Hasney wrote a letter to the editor of the Baton Rouge Morning Advocate. Very good paper. Friends of ours work there. And the letter to the editor said what you and I are thinking, which is LSU has no integrity. It's a win at all costs. They're going to hire these coaches, Wade Wilson, Lane Kiffin, that have no moral compass. And he basically called them out. This is just a letter to the editor. So now everybody's mad at the Baton Rouge Morning Advocate. So they soaked up all the hatred, even though it's just one guy from Metairie who wrote this letter, and it says it, but people take it, they see it, and they read it, and they just go, this is a terrible article. This is the Baton Rouge Morning Advocate's always out to get the Tigers. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. It's a letter to the editor. Do those even exist in other papers anymore? I don't know. I may write a letter to the editor. I may write a letter to the editor of the Baton Rouge paper and say, I agree with everything Paul Hasney said. All right, that is our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week. Let us move along to our BMI TeleMed Overachiever. No, I'm sorry, our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week. And that is brought to you by our good friends at BMI TeleMed. Achieve and maintain with your weight loss specialist. Call them at 727-383-1677, and you will get a discount if you mention you heard it on another duly noted podcast. Well, our smart move of the week was what happened yesterday at the NCAA gymnastics meet, which starts today, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So Bridget Sloan, former Gator, of course, is interviewing current Gator coach Jenny Rowland. And you may have seen this on Twitter or Facebook. And she's just interviewing her. She's saying, do you guys worried that maybe you peaked already, or what's it like to peak and what at the right time? And And Jenny gets the mic back and she goes, yeah, well, yeah, we hope we've really enjoyed this season. And but by the way, this really means a lot coming from you because you are now a UF Hall of Famer. And of course, Bridget didn't know it was coming. She should have known because there's no doubt that she deserves to be in. She's, I think, the best. She and Trinity, I think. Bridget won more championships, though. But anyway, yeah, and she's like crying. The team's all celebrating with her. It was a really cool and smart way to do this. I assume they're going to release the rest of the Hall of Fame class, and we'll talk about that, I guess, Monday. It may be even coming out this afternoon, or maybe it's on my thing. I just haven't had a chance to look at it. Anyway, that was our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week, and it was very cool. It is time for one of our favorite features, This, That, and the Other.
What do you want? This, that, and the other.
Okay, This, That, and the Other, as always, every Thursday is brought to you by our good friends at Notary Joe. Notary Joe will do all of your mobile notary needs. So you can just come right to your house and do anything for notary that you need. 863-990-4884, the number to call. You can reach them there. It is brought to you by Dar Shakow Insurance, our good friends over there. For all of your home, auto, commercial, and life needs, Dar Shakow is the place to go. And by the Atlanta Hustle. The Atlanta Hustle, we talked about this we talked about it last week. The Southeast #1 Frisbee team, they've got all their schedule, all their special events that they're doing. So give it a look and see what you can, if you want to go up there and watch it. I bet it would be a lot of fun to go watch one of those. And we're thinking about doing that this summer. All right, let's get to This, That, and the Other. This is that when LIV was announced, I think you guys know, if you listened to the tailgate when I was on the tailgate, and everything I've ever said here, I'm not a fan. I didn't like it. I thought it wasn't as much, I guess it was a little bit, the fact that there's some things going on in Saudi Arabia that I'm not thrilled with. Killing people, killing journalists, stuff like that, the repression of women. Not a big fan of that. And that's where the money was coming from. But it was more that these guys were trying to have a civil war. And I want golf. Look, to me, I love golf, and I love to watch golf when it's on great golf courses with all the best players. And that's what I want. These guys leave, Mickelson especially, who was my favorite golfer, is no longer, became a villain because of this. And that's one reason Rory's my guy now, because Rory was the other guy. He was like, no, the tour is where we need to be. Anyway, I think I've talked that to death, how much I don't like Liv. That is, this big story breaks yesterday, and I was actually pretty excited that Liv is going away. They can't sustain it. They're having emergency meetings in Mexico City and try to figure this out. But and the reason is basically that the Saudis have to regenerate or put their money elsewhere. Don't forget, if the Strait of Hormuz is closed, you can't get oil. You can't sell oil, and that's a problem. And they're also all the stuff that's going on over in the Middle East. And they said, look, we're going to shut this down. Okay, so I was happy. Then the other is, of course, they came out and said, they put a big memo out. We're playing all our tournaments this year. Hey, we're fine. We got some things going on, but we're going to be okay. So they're going to play, and they're going to keep going. The question is, are they going to stop after this year? And I'm almost at the point now where I don't care. Like, we see that some of these guys, their game has fallen off because of this. And I thought it was the Golf Channel. I know they're anti-Liv, but the Golf Channel came on and they had some expert on. I don't know who he is, somebody from England or yeah. So this guy says this, and it's exactly what I said. It was a lousy product. Yes, it is a lousy product. It's stupid. It's stupid. The music on the golf course isn't as big a deal to me because I play music when I play, but only when I play by myself. I don't want to bother anybody else. It's just the format of it, the teams, all that it was a lousy product. And sometimes I would try to watch for a minute and that's just not, I don't care. Anyway, it is what it is. I hope it goes away, but I'm at the point where if it doesn't go away, fine. Just leave it over there. Just don't tell me about it anymore. I don't want to hear about it. And I don't want to see those guys in their stupid hats. All right. See, you know how I feel about it. All right. Let's move along to our Los Linderos smooth move of the week. And that is brought to you by Los Linderos Tequila. Go beyond with Los Linderos. My favorite tequila, Urban Meyer's favorite tequila. Our smooth move of the week was by my man. He's very smooth, and that was Steph Curry. Season on the line, down 13 in the fourth quarter. What does he do? He lights it up, ends up at 35, and gets Golden State to survive another day. And that he's my guy, and I just liked him. I liked him in college. Sometimes I like a guy so much in college that I start rooting for his team because I don't really have an NBA team. Well, Golden State's kind of my NBA team because I love Steph Curry in college at Davidson, and now I love him now. So anyway, but that was pretty smooth. Down 13 and him just an epic comeback. Let us move along to our Gators of, I'm sorry. That was our Adams Ribco. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was our Los Linderos smooth move of the week. Pat, you got to get your brain working today. I know it's early. All right, it is time for our Adams Ribco Gator of the week. It is brought to you by our friends at Adams Ribco, where you go Nana's Nuggets tomorrow, and I am going there. I already told Adam I was going. He sent me a really nice text about writing for Main Street Daily News. But our Adams Ribco Gator of the week is Taylor Shoemaker. And the reason she is because last night she made this play early in the game. Pretty nice play. Web gem. I don't know if it made SportsCenter's top 10 list. Not only did she do that, make this great catch, but they were trailing. They were struggling. She came up, hit a bomb, and of course put them back in the lead, and then tied the game up, and then they were able to pull out the win, and she had another double that was opposite field was a shot. She is such a good player and a good person too, and she's been our Gator of the week before. She is our Gator of the week again, and if again, standing offer, if you want to go have lunch, I'm picking up the tab. All right. Let us move along to our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick pick. And I told you guys last week that I was in a good mood because I just picked up a bunch of gift cards from Leonardo's Pizza of Millhopper. And so I'm going to give you we're going to go ahead and make a pull today for $25 gift certificate at Leonardo's. You can go get a dual sandwich and a couple of beers. And also, whoever we pick here, I'm going to let that person pick out the second prize I'm going to send them. I'm supposed to get copies of my book, 100 Things Every Gator Fan Should Do, which I wrote 5 or 6, 7 years ago. But it's still relevant. And I'll sign it and send it to you. Or you can get a signed hat from the Bob Dooley Invitational, or you can get a gift certificate at No Paul, or you can get a gift certificate at Salty Dog. So there are options there. So whoever we pick here, you're going to have a chance to win definitely the $25 at Millhopper. Leonardo's at Millhopper, and then we'll give you another prize as well. We're just in a mood. We're in a giving mood right now. All right. So Zach, I have written down all the people that qualify. We had a lot of people that did qualify, and you get to pick a number between 14 and 39.
Between 14 and 39. I've been thinking about basketball. Let's go with Michael Jordan, 23.
23. That's a good number. Not the 32, right, that he wore for a while there. Didn't he wear 32 when he came back? Oh, was it 45? Yeah, okay. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, that number is Adam I gotta say his name right. Ponitowski, I think so. It looks like Adam Ponitowski. Cool. So send me your information. I'll mail you and let me know what you'd like to get. If you want a copy of the 100 Things book, I haven't got them yet. They're supposed to be en route. So maybe I'll get them by the weekend. So I'll send it to you Monday or Tuesday. But anyway, whatever you want, of those things. And if you have any questions, I'll email you the actual prizes that you can possibly get. I do want to get another one going. Let's get another contest going. And all I'm going to do, it's going to be very simple. How many games does Florida win in baseball? And it is going to be a hard one. 3 games against the number 6 team in the country. You're at home, though. And how many games do you win? That's very, I don't know what to say. That's what it is. It could be 0, 1, 2, or 3. All right. And we'll qualify new people for that. All right, it's time for our Swamp games of the weekend. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about. We'll just give you the highlights, but the Swamp Restaurant's a place where you go to watch those games because it's a great venue, great big TVs outside, great food, great drink specials. The Swamp Restaurant, place to go. Our games of the weekend, let's start with baseball. We just were talking about it. And I don't know, I kind of snuck up on me that this is a Thursday, Friday, Saturday weekend. So the Gators play tonight. The games are at 7 o'clock tonight, 5:30 Friday, and noon on Saturday. And they're all on ESPN2. So the crew is coming in here. It's a big series, and they're doing the whole series. So that's great. You don't have to worry about doing pluses. However, with softball, it's a different story. Softball plays Auburn Friday at 6, Saturday at 3, Sunday at 1. All of them are on SEC Plus. Gymnastics, which of course is going on at 4:30 today. That's on ESPN2 tonight. And then the other 4 go afterwards at 8 o'clock. And then hopefully Florida makes the finals and they show up Saturday. That is on ABC at 4 o'clock. So I know a lot of us are really into it, and we're going to watch it, and it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be great to watch that and then go right into baseball. All right, so we do have a Saturday baseball game of note. Atlanta at Philadelphia, 7:15 on Fox. I will be watching that as well. Don't forget the NBA. There's just so many games. Friday, Charlotte at Orlando. The Magic are still alive. Golden State at Phoenix. All these games are on Prime until I get to one that's not, okay? That Orlando game's at 7:30. The Golden State game's at 10. On Saturday, you got Toronto at Cleveland's at 1. Minnesota at Detroit at 3:30, and Atlanta and New York at 6. So you got a lot going on. But then you have a night game, Houston at the LA Lakers. And that game is on ABC at 8:30. So there is a game on ABC. So you got plenty to watch. No excuses for saying I had nothing to do. But there is still a lot to do. You could go to baseball. You could go to softball. Maybe you can go to a place where everybody's watching the gymnastics. Maybe you can go play golf. But hey, stay active and be safe. Those are the 2 main things I say to everybody. And appreciate everybody for joining us on the show. That's going to do it for another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. We'll be back on Monday with Coach Spurrier and his 81st birthday party. We will do that. Until then, I am Pat Dooley for Zach Rothrock. I am deep. I am way back, and I am out of here.